G'day guys, welcome to another episode of Dingle DIY. I'm Rob Dingledye, and today we're going to be building a cat enclosure. I jumped online to a website called catnets.com.au. I'll link them below. And before we get into it, this video isn't sponsored by them, but I really enjoyed the whole process of dealing with them. They had all the products I was looking for to kind of create a cat enclosure in the one spot. It was cheap, it was affordable, it was streamlined. It's in Australia, so everything got delivered in about 2 days. And all of this is like a custom amount, so you pick what you need and they'll package it up for you. I've got a big roll of cat netting here, some rope, some mounting hardware, which I'll show you close-ups of in a second, some C-clips and some pliers for those C-clips, and some steel cable. Now I've also picked up some brackets and some shelves and a cat flap and some things like that from the hardware store as well. So we're just going to convert this whole courtyard into a cat enclosure basically. Now I've never done anything like this myself, but I'm pretty sure we can work it out, and with the pictures I've seen, and there are some animations on the CatNets website to kind of show you how all this goes together. It's pretty intuitive, so we'll get the framework set up. I'll bring you along with me as we get it all put together. Alright, these are our donor bolts, so as you tighten them, that little piece there runs down the shaft and splits these sleeves apart, and that'll wedge it in the bricks. So we've got 2 installed for now. This is our first one. This is just a string line. It's going to help me get the rest of them in a straight, neat line. And that runs all the way to the far corner. So I'm just going to continue this process from corner to corner, up on the roof, and then along here, and then back down to this point. And then from there we can start threading our steel cable through the eyelets. Alright, if we're going into brick, we can use these. Into timber, we just use a timber screw through a right angle bracket. But for me, I've got rendered foam to get through, so I'm using a extra long screw with a washer. So that way I can go all the way through the foam into the timber work behind the foam, and we'll get a good solid fix. With modern rendering these days, you can get 100mm thick sheets of foam and render over the top of them, and that just gets screwed to the timber work. So that's why we've got these extra long screws. So we can see here we've got our lock nuts, which tighten against the body of the turnbuckle. That'll just lock these to length. Now when we're threading our cable through, it goes through this little clamp and then through the eyelet on the turnbuckle, and then loop it over onto itself. Then once you tighten this clamp down, that's secured. You don't want to make the mistake of running this through first and then through the clamp, because then once you double back, you got nowhere to go. So make sure you put your clamp on first, and then you'll be fine. All right, we want to start by threading our wire through all these eyelets, and then we'll terminate both ends, one with a turnbuckle and one with just a clamp. Now you want to leave the clamp on the turnbuckle, or just one end or the other. Leave it loose, and then we can pull all the slack out, tighten the clamp down, and then if there's any more slack we can get that out with the turnbuckle. Alright, once you're happy everything's nice and tight, you can wind down the lock nuts, tighten those up with a shifter or some pliers or something like that. Now the last thing you want to do is just cut off any excess wire at the clamp ends, and then we can move on to the next part. Alright, it's a new day here. Yesterday I had to run off, so I had to stop early, but I did come back in the afternoon and put some silicone on all the screws, just where it was going to be an issue with waterproofing. It did rain last night, so I'll just show you what I did with the screws, and then we'll keep moving forward with the wiring and the netting. Now, normally I would never recommend putting a screw through the lower part of a roof sheet. You always want to put them on the high section, but to stop the cats getting out underneath, I had to put one here. But it's not a big deal that the screw goes through at the end of a sheet, so long as the roof sheet hangs into the gutter. So if I put the camera in the gutter, you'd be able to see the bottom side of the screw because I can feel it. So if that did end up leaking, it would just leak into the gutter anyway, so not a big issue. So as you can see, we've got our brackets on the roof so that we can fill in the side piece here, and we've got the rest of the wiring laid out. Alright, we've got our biggest and most complicated sheet of netting cut to size. So I basically just tied that off in all the right positions, kept the tension on the net, and then once everything was tight I would just cut off the excess. If I had any recommendations, I would start in a right angle corner because the net comes as a square or a rectangle, so it's easiest to just start on the right angle, pin it off, and then you can tension the rest of it from those points. With this rope border, I was thinking I was going to take the netting down off the roof and do it on the ground in the driveway or something like that, but I think having the net in position with a bit of tension on it might help me pull the rope through all these little grids and weave it through the edge. So I'll give it a try like this for now, and then we can clip it off, all going well. Now, most of the complexity in this came from putting the netting above the roof that I'm standing on. Now, we wanted the cats to be able to get up here and see the trees, see the sky, instead of just staring at rendered concrete walls. Now, that's pretty much the hardest part here, so if we didn't want them up on the roof, this would have been a much easier process, but that being said, it's still been pretty straightforward. With that out of the way, we'll keep on getting things buttoned up. Alright, these edges are starting to fray, which is slowing me down, so I'm going to cut those off and melt the end closed, and then I think we should just be flying from here. Alright, that's the roof done as far as I'm concerned. Now, there are some awesome animations on catnets.com.au and on their YouTube page. Those animations tell you how all this system goes together, so if I haven't quite fully explained what's happening here, you'll find all the information you need there. Now, that briefly mentions that all your eyelets need to be a maximum of 1 meter apart, and the C-clips, which I'll show you in a sec, they 5 every meter. Weaving the rope through was way easier than I thought it would be. In hindsight, I would have just done it in 1 piece instead of 2 lengths. Would have saved me a lot of knot tying and things like that. With the roof done, I'll just move on to the walls. It's the same principle. And then that'll be the cat netting done. If you come into an issue like this where you've got a downpipe or a steel post, in my case, in the way, you just want to cut away the square shape, and then you can just run a little piece of rope and connect it to the long border piece. If you do it that way, that'll just get you out of trouble quick as anything. Alright guys, the day is coming to an end pretty quickly. Now, I've got a couple more wall pieces to do. Now, same principle as what I've just done here. So, that'll pretty much be it for the cat netting. I'll get those finished off today. I might run out of light. Now, with a job like this, you can probably expect it to take about 8 hours. For me, that's probably what it'll take. I spent a couple hours on it yesterday, about 4 hours on it today, and about 2 hours to go. Now, even though I've done this over a course of pretty much 3 days, if you're doing it, you probably won't be running around with the camera, and I got a bad tendency of sleeping in, so we'll see you out today and then we'll pick it back up tomorrow. Alright, it's a new morning. Now, yesterday I finished off all the cat netting, and today I'm going to focus on putting a cat flap in that window. I'm going to build a shelf below the window so the cats have access on both sides. There's a gap down here where that heater is. I need to block that off so the cats can't get under the deck. Then I'll throw up a few shelves in the corners, and I'm going to build some platforms so the cats can actually get up on the roof and have a view of some trees in the sky and things like that. So we'll get stuck into that now. I've got to clean up all the scrub down in this section here, and then I've got to get tricky with some magnetic strips and some fly wire to try keep all of that, you know, bug proof. So the magnetic strips that I used to build this flywire frame aren't quite up to the task. The magnetism just isn't quite strong enough, so the cats just push through the flywire. Instead of using the cat flap, they're just jumping through the holes in the window. So I bought some perspex, we'll fix that up, and that should be the last of the issues. It's been a few days since we wrapped up the cat netting and all the shelves and things like that. We've put a few finishing touches here and there, like some marine carpet on the shelves. Now George found a weak point in the system behind this heater and aircon unit down in that gap. So we managed to get under the deck and we blocked that hole up pretty quickly. So now he won't be disappearing anymore. He's not the bad one anyway, the other cat's the one we're worried about. So that's all that. I just thought I'd explain these shelves down here as well. Now the way I built them is a bit weird in a sense. Basically we've got our top shelf so that the cats can come in and out through the cat flap, and then a staircase building up to it. Now I had that PowerPoint to deal with, that tap to deal with, and we still wanted the clothesline to operate as a clothesline. For this to swing up, it had to go clear past these steps, which it does, so that's all good. We've also got a couple of passion fruit trees in some pots on either side of this bench. Now hopefully they grow up quickly and they can go through the net, and not only will we have passion fruits, but it'll look pretty cool. Same over here, those planters have got sugar snap peas in them, so another vine that should hopefully grow pretty quickly and tangle itself in the netting and kind of get some greenery happening out here. So looking forward to that. Just want to say a quick thank you to Cat Nets. If you're looking for someone to install cat nets for you, you don't think you can do it yourself, Cat Nets have a section on their website with a list of suppliers for your state or territory. So check that out if this is something that you want in your own backyard. If you enjoyed this video, guys, there's plenty more on my channel, so feel free to check that out and subscribe while you're there. Now stick around to the end because there's going to be a cat montage and some bloopers. I hope you enjoy, and thanks for watching.